Hey guys, welcome back. This is Chris Fayte with Cheat the Game coming back at you. Today we're taking a look at a fairly complicated thing called encrypted values. Now Jerry gave a great tutorial on this, and I've been following it myself. And I know I've been kind of sticking with a lot of Jerry's tutorials. It's just really bugging me that, these are just being locked away in some archive, and these are really good, and I would just hate for them to be lost to the annals of time. And I really want to bring these back out to life because I've learned so much going through his tutorials, and they're really good. So I want to put a link to all his tutorials in the description, and also this one directly into the description. We're taking a look at the basic encryptions, debugging, backtracing, and he goes through everything step by step, and he gives you some back information. Some things can get a little confusing, but what you need to do, I really recommend, maybe before you even watch this video, is go give it a read. Especially pay attention to this right here, the stack. He gives a good explanation in easy to understand terms on how the stack operates, and it's really important to understand how the stack operates, or at least have a base understanding of it. Okay? And also down here you really want to take a look at, and that is the ESP. You'll see ESP a lot. Let's see, where does he have that written down at? Let me find it right quick. You see this right here? And he's showing you what that really is a stack pointer, and it's dealing with the stack. Okay, it's dealing with controlling the values on the stack, how it's placed on there, and the way that you use the stack and everything is very strict on the stack. When you push a value onto the stack and then push another value on top of it, but you need the one that you previously put on it, you have to take things off the stack to get to it. It's like stacking papers on top of each other. You see what I'm saying? And let's say that you just wrote a report and you start putting papers down into a stack, and then somebody says, hey, I need that third sheet, and you've already laid about 15 of them down. Well, you can't just reach in there like we normally do and just pull out the third sheet from the bottom. You got to take each one back off until you get to that third sheet again. That's basically how the stack operates. So when you put something on a stack and then you put something on top of it, but you need it back, you got to take that one that you put back on and then grab the one that you need. Okay, and that's how to push and pop things off a stack correctly and things, or you could really screw things up. But what the stack is temporary storage. It's temporary storage of values until you need it later, or till the game needs it later. For example, let's say we start here with 5 lives, then we get killed. Well, what it's doing in this particular game, and this is the exact game that Jerry used, it's a good one to do. When you lose a life, it has your normal value, which you start at 5 lives. And then we know it goes to 4 when you lose a life. However, what it's doing in the game, it stores that 4 into the stack. It goes on down the program, and then there's some types of call functions that say, hey, we need to encrypt this value in case somebody tries to hack it. So it pulls that value back off the stack. It encrypts it, places it back onto the stack, and then another function calls it and says, hey, we need to display the correct number of lives on there. So it pulls that decrypted value back off the stack, it decrypts it to display onto the screen, and then re-encrypts it and places it back onto the stack, in case, because all we can do is look onto the stack. Okay, and that's to keep us from making it easy for us to hack, and that's a common thing that is done. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to find these encrypted values, how you can get that base number before it gets pushed onto the stack. And I'm talking about when it gets pushed on that very first time onto the stack, it's pushing on your real number of lives, and then it's taking it back off, it's encrypting it, putting it back on, it's taking it back off again, it's decrypting it, displaying it, then it's encrypting it again, and putting it back on the stack. What we want to do is we want to backtrace that encryption all the way back to where it originally was, like our 4 lives left. Before it pushes it on the stack, we want to grab that 4 and we want to modify it there, and before it does all its encryptions. Okay, now that we got the stack out of the way, we've got a base understanding of what the game is actually doing. Now we can kind of formulate what we want to do. But we also, if you want to skip over this part, it's not really necessary to know to find encrypted values, but it is handy to know, and there are people that follow me that would like to know. So I'm going to briefly describe how it's being encrypted, and it just take a moment. But if you want to skip over it, I'll put a link right here, and it'll skip directly to where we just get into finding these values, getting it hacked, and getting on with the game, okay? So just go ahead and click that link if you want to bypass on how it's being encrypted. For those that want to stay, it's being encrypted like this. You have several different commands that can be used for encrypting values, but the most commonly that is used is XOR, X-O-R. And I know when you're looking in memory view that sometimes you'll see the command, you'll see XOR, then you'll see EAX, comma, ECX. You're like, what the hell does that mean? Well, I'm going to explain that to you. That is a math function, actually. If you look on your computer calculators, if you're in Windows, you bring up your calculator, click on the programmer part of it, you'll see those functions. You'll see OR, AND, XOR. And that is actually a math function, the same as add, subtract, multiply, divide, and all that. It just does it differently, a different type of math function. But we're not going to really discuss AND or because they do a little bit differently than XOR. We're just concentrating on XOR because that's what this game uses, and the majority of encrypted values in games, that's what they use, is the XOR. And we're going to take a look at that. So when you see XOR, EAX, comma, ECX, well, we have to understand what's going on with it. So we say, let's say EAX, and you'll notice in our game, EAX is storing our regular value, that 5 lives, okay? But we're going to say, let's just say that EAX for this example equals 50, and ECX equals 60, okay? Those two decimal values that we go by all the time, and what XOR does, it'll say, okay, first off, I need to convert both of these values to their binary forms. So if you go to your calculator and look at 50 and 60 and then click on binary, it'll show you what they look like in binary, as you see right here. And next, what XOR does is put one over the top of the other. You remember when we looked up our AOB to data in the GTA 5, where I showed you, and we lined one up over the top of the other, and anything that was different we had to go in there and put a question mark. Well, XOR does this. It looks for any like columns. If it's 1 and 1 or 0 and 0. If it's 1 and 1, 1 over 1, or 0 over 0, anything that's alike, that will always equal a 0. Anything that are opposites or difference, which could only be 0 or 1 because it's binary, if they are different, that equals 1. So what it does that math. So everything that's alike will equal a 0, and everything that is opposites will equal a 1. And it comes up with this new number. And that is what EAX will become. It has been encrypted. Okay? That's a basic form of it, and that's what XOR does. That's what the math function of XOR is, what it does. It takes any, you can look at it like this, it takes anything that are twins, that's a 0. Anything that are complete opposites, that's a 1. You put them together, that formulates a new number, and that's what is being stored into that value, or that registry. Okay, so now we get to the part where we take our newly found knowledge and we now have some type of game plan to put into action here. So we know what's going on with it, and we know how it's being encrypted. So now we need to get in there and locate these values. Now it starts us off with 5 values, 5 lives. So that's not really going to be enough to really weed out as many as we need, because once we lose all our lives, we got to start over again, and the addresses are going to change. So we need to see if we can maybe find it a different way that'll be easier for us. Well, we know that in past games, when we look up health, that we can find a lot of other values based off that health address, because they're being stored in the same registry. Well, the same type things are going on here. So you don't necessarily need to look up lives to find the lives. We're going to look up our food value instead, and then we're going to manipulate things to find our life value and manipulate lives. Now, there are ways to do it where you can manipulate everything all at once, but that's not really efficient. So we want to do each individually, but we're only going to do lives in this particular tutorial here. We want to get infinite lives. We want our lives to always read 99. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, and let's just go ahead and get to it. Alright, so our game is starting. You can see down here that we are starting with 5 lives. We also have missile values, we got this energy value, and we got food value. Okay, so I'm going to find food value because they seem to drop more frequent, so we can hang on to our lives a little bit. But don't get me wrong, we are still looking for lives. We're just using the food values to get to it, okay? Because they're all going through the same opcodes, and if you look up any one of these, they're going to carry you to the same opcodes. So in this game, it really doesn't matter. In a lot of games, it's that way. Now, normally what you do to look up encrypted values, you cannot look up exact values. They're encrypted. They could be any number whatsoever. So normally what you got to do is you got to go to value type all, if you don't know what value type it's going to be, and changed and unchanged is the only way you're going to find it. You can't even do a loose increase or decrease, because you don't know. It could be 100 one time, you lose a life, it could be 255, or it could be lower than 100. So that ain't going to work either. You're always going to have 0 results in the end. So you got to do the loosest search possible, and the loosest search possible is only changed and unchanged. That's what we're doing. I've already got changed and unchanged set to hotkeys. I do it manually a couple of times, but mostly I'm just going to be using my hotkeys for changed and unchanged, okay? And also, I know that it's on a byte form, so I'm going to bypass all and go straight to byte, and this game is storing it in byte form, just regular byte. So, but normally you'd want to go to all and just go from there till you at least find the value type, and then you can kind of go from there. Alright, let's do it. So go to byte. Let's go ahead and bring everything up so it's completely loaded up. Okay. Alright, so now we're in the game. So now we just want to do an an unknown value, unknown initial value, do a first scan. Now we can start. And all we're looking now is the food value. We're not trying to get killed or anything. Oops. So I may have to go through a couple of levels to do that. So I may bypass a lot of this, just kind of show you how I'm looking these up, doing changed and unchanged, and then we'll go down to the search later, because it didn't even give me any food that time. Normally it does. So okay, here comes the chicken leg. So we want to grab it. Let's pause it. You see we got a 1 down here. Now we just want to go over here and do changed. Even though it went up, we're not going to use increased. Okay, we're going to use changed. So change the value, and you see we got about over 1 million. So now we're going to start hitting unchanged while the game's in pause, and even while the game's running. Do not eat again while you're staying on top of that unchanged button. It just weeds out a lot more of them that way. Ah, crap. We're going to still hit unchanged. That's alright. Alright, here's another one. We just went up to 2. Now we're going to hit changed again. And you see what I'm doing. And I'm just doing this over and over again until I get down to just a few that we can try out and see what's affecting our food value. Okay, I know I lost a life there. I wasn't paying attention. But that doesn't matter. Okay, not right now anyway. As long as we get to the opcodes, we can start over again and have 5 lives again, and we're still just fine. So let's go ahead and unchange value now, back in the game. Let's see if we can get some more food while we're still mashing unchanged value. There's some more. Alright, pause it. Now let's do changed again. And you see how quick it's going down now. So maybe I don't have to pause it. Now we're down to 83. There's another one. Alright. Alright, good. Now we're down to about 42. Now we can start weeding some of these down. Now, the good thing about this is that mostly we're going to be dealing with display codes. Our internal code is on down the tree. If you remember that vid where I showed you how to get stealth, in which I will pop up here, feel free to go take a look at it. And we discussed the tree on how you go back into the tree to find more base source codes and things of that nature. Basically, we're going to be using just display codes here, and these have already been encrypted. So it's displaying our normal value, then it's re-encrypting it, placing it back onto the stack, and then that's what we're left with here. Is just the the encrypted version. So let's go ahead and try some of these out. Now, just to save a little time, normally I've been finding these in the E's here lately, so I'm just going to try a few of these out, and I'll show you how to use the process of elimination to do this. Sometimes it's in the D's, but I'm going to try the E's out and just see if there's anything affecting our food value. So we're just going to add those highlighted to the address list, and I just want to highlight all of them, and I'm just going to change it to a random byte value. Don't go above 255 because bytes only go up to 255. If so, you're probably going to get some weird numbers. So just kind of keep it within the realm between 1 and 255. So let's just change that to 80 and see if it affects our food. And it did. It went to 0 there. So we know that 1 or maybe 2 of these are affecting our display. So that's good. So what we want to do is just find a specific code that is affecting our display. So we're just going to highlight half of them, and we'll change that to 100 and see if that does anything. And you see there it just shot up to a weird number. You see what it's doing, don't you? So you can tell these are encrypted values, and all we're doing is just changing the display. Our internal food is still 6 or whatever it was, I don't remember, but you know, like I said, we're not concentrating on food right now. We're just trying to get the opcodes that handle all of these. So we can delete these bottom ones here, and we're just going to do maybe one at a time and see if that's affecting us. So let's start the first one and go 150, see what that does. That didn't do anything, so let's try this one, and let's put that one, let's do that one also 150. Didn't do anything. So one of these is our display code, and that's the one we need. Change the next one to 150, and there it was. We found her. That is a display code, but we can find what we need with our display code. That's all we need. So what we want to do here is we want to find out what is accessing this address. We are going to what's writing to it, but I just wanted to show you something here. So whatever's accessing it will pop up into the debugger, and you see that something's reading it already. And look at that. Remember what we just discussed? XOR is reading that. Let's go take a look at that in the memory view just quickly. And Jerry already goes over this. Now you can look these up and find key addresses. I don't really think it's necessary for what we're doing here, but you know, for learning purposes, on Jerry's tutorial, go take a look at it. And what he does is he sticks another debugger on both of these to find key addresses and messes with the values. We don't necessarily need to do that, but as you can see here, we'll find out later that EAX is storing all the normal values, and it's being encrypted with the XOR. You see, it's moving a specific value into EAX, and now it's encrypting it somehow with the XOR. But we don't need that right now. What I'd like to do is go ahead and add that to my code list in case I need that for later. And what it will do is it will add that to my advanced option code list, so that way I can go to it without having to look all that mess back up later. So now let's just find out what's writing to it, so we need to go eat again. Okay, so let's do that. There's one. There we go. We're good. Now we found out what's writing to the address, so now we know that this is right near the final stroke of where it's just writing the display code. It's just putting the new encrypted code into there, and you can see it's went to 0 here, but wait, that's just encryption. We have way more than that. Our internal code just probably went to 7 or 8 or whatever it was. So let's go to this right here. This is what we're interested in. We're going to go to that into our memory view. Let's bring that back up. Let's click on it again. Did I go there? Yeah. Okay, now we're there. Now this is what we're interested in. Look right below it. Remember we talked about the stack pointer? And it's an XOR. So this is where we need to be, actually. Not on the right, but on the XOR. Because we need to follow that encryption back. Because somewhere our normal value is being pushed on the stack. It's being taken off the stack, XOR'd, and then placed back onto the stack. So we need to follow that encryption all the way back down the tree. Okay, all the way back down the program, and find out where the original initial internal code is for our lives. We are looking for our lives here, not our food, and I'm going to show you how we do that. We're going to follow this XOR all the way back, but we're only going to do it when it's affecting our lives, not our food. So here's where we got to be a little careful. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had some technical difficulties, so I was down for about a day, but I went ahead and refound everything to get back to where we was. And good thing that we saved these addresses. Like I was telling you before, when we right click on these addresses, you can add to the code list, and it will add everything to the code list, and then you just go save it, and you can just pick up right where you left off, which is always a great thing. So that's what we wanted to do, and we're back to where our address is writing right here. It's writing to our display codes, and what we're really interested in right now is this XOR underneath where it's writing to our address. If you take a close look at it, you'll see we have a stack pointer, ESP. That's what the SP stands for, stack pointer. So we have a base stack pointer at the 10 offset there. So we see that that is controlling our lives, our food, our missiles, and everything else that's going through there. See, ESI is writing the encrypted value to here, but the stack pointer is also encrypting it or doing some math with that same value. You see that? So that is very interesting to us. So what we want to do is we want to follow this XOR all the way back where it's encrypting to the original code of our lives. I know we found our value with food, but now we want to concentrate on lives, and this is how we're going to do it. Let's get back into the game here. We're starting over with 5 fresh lives, which is totally fine. We're where we need to be. Alright, while it's doing all that mess, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and place a break and trace on this XOR. We're going to follow everywhere it's encrypted all the way back to its main source of where our original lives are stored. And as you can see right now, it's showing us our correct lives in display mode. However, when we look up an address, it's encrypted. It's always going to show us here in encryption. But here it shows us our normal code. We want to go all the way back to that internal code before it starts encrypting. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're going to place a break and trace on this. Right click on it, go to break and trace instructions, and you'll get this little pop-up here. And basically what this asks, and normally what we'd want to do is put a conditional break and trace on it, and we would put a condition like the address of our lives to only break and trace it when we lose a life. But we're not going to do that because I didn't grab that information. So what we're going to do is we're just going to be very careful and not kill anything, not eat anything, not collect anything. We're only going to lose a life, so it will break and trace just our life value. Okay, that's what we're doing. So we'll just be very careful not to touch anything, and just see if we can do this without putting a condition on it. So let's go back to the game. And we're not killing anything but ourselves. Okay? So that way it'll only break and trace our life values. Alright? Boom. There we go. We just lost a life. That's the only thing we affected. So now we got some tracing information. And this only tracing our life value. Because that's the only thing that was affected by that code. Okay? We know that all the codes are going through this. So if we was to modify something, we could affect every single one of these all in one shot. We don't want to do that. We want to go back to the original source codes of just our lives. We would want to do these individually. This is a basic form of reverse engineering, is a break and trace. They go back into the programming, deeper into the programming, to the main sources, and they do their manipulations and things like that from there. It's way more advanced. I don't know that much about it, so I'm not getting into it, but I do know that this is a handy tool of a reverse engineer, is to backtrace, and that's what we're going to do. So we have all our backtracing information, and we want to right click and expand all, and it's going to carry us all the way to that XOR instruction right here where it ended up, and that's where it stopped on the break and trace. And if you remember that stealth video that I'll put up here that you can link to, we talked about this tree here. All of this is everything our values went through before it got to this ending point. Okay, but let's take a look at this right here before we move on. We want to take a look at that stack pointer and see what it is. That stack pointer, that ESP plus 10. This is where our values are being stored. This particular part of the stack is handling our life value. We see the base of that address is 19EAD0. It's ESP plus 10. You can see it up here, ESP plus 10. Plus 10 is 19E0, 19AE0. But look what it's holding. See that? It's holding our life value. See that? So that's why we wanted to backtrace this back. So somewhere down this tree is dealing with our internal value, our normal internal value. That's where we need to manipulate it. So what we want to do is go to the next branch of the tree. We go down to the return. And this will carry us to the previous function that ran before it. Remember I told you this ran first, second, third, and all the way down to our instruction. So we want to go back to the previous instruction right before it got to this function. So we go to here, and there'll always be a call above it. Now someone has asked me what a call function does, if I could give a brief explanation. And basically all a call does, and I can show you in the break and trace better, because there's calls within this main function here, all the way down to return on this branch of the tree right here. On this branch, this is the function we're on. All along this route here is the main function, and you'll have sub functions also noted by calls. But what a call does, it's like a jump. Basically it calls a specific program that's already in the program, and it jumps to that location, it jumps to that address, runs that specific function, it hits the return, and then it comes directly back to where it left off. That's basically all it does. Okay, it's kind of similar to a jump function, but it's going to one that's already in memory, that's running, and it calls that specific function, it utilizes it for what it needs it for, and it comes right back to where it left off. Okay, it's just so that you don't have to put these instructions here also. Since you've already done it, you ain't got to do it twice. So that's what calls do. So we're going to go to this instruction in the memory viewer by double clicking on it, and this will carry us right before a call. So what we want to do is place a break on that. Bear with me one second, I forgot to do something, I'm so sorry. Let's go back to that XOR. When we see that 19EAO that's storing our 4 value, we need to use that address as a key. Okay, it's going to be a key address for us so it can show us what's going on. It's going to show us where we are and what's going on with that value while it's in memory, or while it's being run. So let's go ahead and put that address in there, 19EAE0. Okay, so we kind of want to keep our eyes on this value. it's showing us in its encrypted form, and we really want to pay close attention to it, even when we're placing a break on that location. So let's go back to this new other function, this previous function, and we're going to go to the call that's right before it. We're going to place a break on that. So we go to debug. You can also hotkey F5, and we're going to toggle breakpoint. Now, since it's only looking at our lives in this, what we need to do is make sure that we just go lose a life, and it's going to stop right here, and we're just going to see what's happening with this code. Okay, so we're just keeping our eye on it. Let me get this a little closer. Let me get that a little closer so we can kind of keep these two together, so I can get a good screenshot of it. I'm going to go to edit it. Alright, so let's resume game. Our game's running, and we just want to lose another life. Okay, now watch. You see that? Boom. Do you see that? It did an encryption, and now it's showing our 3. Why is it showing our 3 now? Well, you remember back when we talked about the stack, how it's encrypting it. You saw that 76, and then it was encrypting it, and then that function called it and said, hey, we need to show the display. So now it's decrypted it, showing us what's already on the stack, which is a 3, and it's getting ready to display it. So we're not quite back far enough. We need to go back farther to where it originally subtracted from. Okay, so we're not back far enough. It's just getting ready to display it now. So that's where we are. That's why it's important for us to understand what was going on in that stack, so we could see that. We just saw it. We saw it encrypted it. We saw it, now it's decrypted it, and that's where it stopped, on the decrypted 3 to display it. But we need to go farther back before it begins any encryption, and that's what we're going to do. So what we need to do now, bear with me 2 seconds here. Sorry about that. Couldn't see my mouse pointer. What we need to do here is we need to untoggle that, and we need to rerun our game, and which is hotkey F9 also up here. Just mash run and your game will run normal again. We want to go back to our break and trace instruction, and we need to go all the way down this main function of this limb that we're on right now until it's completely finished to the return, and go to the function before it, to this new branch, and all you see here is just a return. So we're going to double click on that, and that will carry us right before a call. So we want to place a break on that. What it'll do is we lose another life, it's going to run that call function. It's going to jump to that place wherever that's set. It's going to run that function, then it's going to jump back to this return. Okay, so we want to break it before it hits that return, and we're going to see what's going on with this point, stack pointer. So let's toggle breakpoint, and we're going to stop it there. Before, hopefully this is before it encrypts it. So we need to bring this back out. We need to take a look at what's going on. As you see, since we run our game, it's already encrypted again, and it's displaying our normal value. Okay, so let's move this over just a little bit, because we want to take a look at it. We do not want to see a 3 yet. That's why we're doing this. We're going to go lose a life, and we're going to take a close look at what's going on. Okay, so let's lose a life. It broke. Nothing happened. Do you see that? Nothing happened. That means we are before it has started to subtract our value and encrypting it. So now we are where we need to be. What we need to do, we can go ahead and untoggle that breakpoint, but we do not want to mash run yet. What we want to do is we want to use this function, this step command, and what that does, we're going to use the hotkey F7. That's what I'm doing, is stepping, and what it does, it's running the game one thing at a time. It's performing each function it gets to one step at a time. So we're going to mash the hotkey F7 and step it to the next one, And we're going to go on down, and what we're doing is we're taking a look at this right here. We're waiting to see a 2, because we just had 3 lives. Now we just lost a life. Now it's going to go to 2. We want to find that 2 before it gets encrypted. And what we're looking for is a push EAX. If you look over here, EAX is 2. It has not pushed that EAX on the stack yet. We're waiting for it to push it on the stack, so we need to go kind of slow and pay attention. As soon as we see that 2, we know we're in the right area. So you don't want to go too fast because you might miss it. Woo, right there. Did you see that? Right when I hit that push, did you see that? Right there at that push, EAX. Look what EAX is. It's only, remember, this is only dealing with our lives. This is only information dealing with our lives. Look what EAX is. It's 2. It has not got to the display, has not got to the encryptions yet. So what we need to do is just kind of move back up and see what's going on with EAX. EAX is our lives. So if we go back up a couple of things, take a look at this. That stack pointer plus 24 is moving the value into EAX. It's loading effective address for ESI, and then it's pushing that 2 onto the stack. Later on down, it's going to encrypt it. Then that call function is going to call it, say we need to make sure that we decrypt it to show it on the display. And then it's going to encrypt it again. Okay? So we are where we need to be to affect that address. To affect that value, we need to affect what's being written into EAX right here. Here's our main code. And when it gets pushed onto the stack, it's going to push whatever value we tell it to push right here before it starts all its encryptions. Yes! So we're going to modify what's being written into EAX right here. Okay? We're going to modify that to be a 99. So let's go ahead to Tools and Auto Assemble. Go to our template, and we're going to our AOB injection. We need to add an enable and disable. AOB injection. Go ahead and click OK. And we're going to label this Lives 1. Or I can type Lives 1. Get rid of this mess. Boom, there we go. And we can keep everything as is. We don't need to do anything with new mem or anything like that. We're just going to affect this, and what we want to do is before it gets to this code is we want to move 99 and replace the 2 that's in there already, or whatever value would be in there if we load up our game again. So we use the move command. We're just going to copy this, and we want to store a 99 in there. Now 99 in hex, you can do it one of 2 ways. You can put int 99 like that, and it's going to, what it's going to do, it's going to replace whatever value's in there, which 2 is in there right now, and replace it with 99. Then it's going to come to this opcode and move that 99 into EAX, and it's going to go on down and push that onto the stack, that 99, and it's going to encrypt that 99, and it's going to keep encrypting that 99 no matter if we lose a life or not, because it's always going to be writing 99 to it. It's always going to be pushing 99 onto there, because 99's the only thing that's going in EAX. Okay, we'll just leave it like that, not to confuse anybody. Or I could do it like this, 63. Don't matter. 63 is the hex value of 99. So we're going to assign that to the current cheat table. You can do it either way, it don't matter. And we're going to label this Infinite Lives. Alright, let's not turn that on yet. Okay? We can close all this down. We are good. We can go ahead and let's go back to here. Make sure that we take off all our breakpoints, and the way to do that is go to View and Breakpoint List. And we don't have any breakpoints on, that's good. And we can go back and mash F9 to run our game. Okay, so now our game is unfroze and it will run like normal. And you see now it's changed to a 2 because we have not turned our code on. But watch this. Okay, let me get the game running again. Let's get back to normal. Alright, let's pause it. Let's go turn our code on and see if it's worked. Alright, resume. Now take a look. I'm gonna intentionally kill myself. Boom. Take a look. 99 lives. We have bypassed that encryption and modified the value before it starts ever encrypting it in the game. And we have infinite lives because this is constantly writing 99 and pushing that onto the stack over and over and over again. It's never decreasing it. And we did it, fellas. And we did it basically by manipulating the stack itself of what's being stored on the stack. We didn't have to go nullify subtraction. We didn't have to go rewrite a not code. We just changed what's being stored onto the stack. And that's why it's handy to understand how the stack operates, especially when you're dealing with encrypted values. Now we can go on our game and never have to worry about dying. And that's it. Guys, I really appreciate this. I want to thank all my friends that have gone over to the Facebook page. We've now, I think we're up to what, 35 or 36 now. 36 awesome people over here, and we would love to have you as well. If you would like to come join us, I will put the address here, but it's the group's Cheat the Game, and we got 36 members, 36 awesome people. We talk gaming, just everything gaming. We talk game hacks. We just talk gaming, period. You know, we're just wide open. Great community of people over here. Great bunch of people. I love these people to death. And I'm going to tell you, we'd love to have you if you'd like to join us. I'd also encourage you to go check out my friends over at guidedhacking.com. That's guidedhacking.com. They go well beyond cheat engine, and they go into the very basics of game hacking, all the way into major advanced hacking, even into reverse engineering. Those guys over there are just awesome. They are friends of mine as well. They're a great bunch of people. Go over there, check them out, and you'll really learn a lot. It's really worth it. And also check out my friend Binomi. He has started up a tutorial series on the Xbox. I want to give him a shout out. He's really helped me out a lot, and I want to give him a shout out. Go check his channel out. I'll put that link in the description for you as well. And he can teach you how to hack your Android games as well as your old Xbox 360 games. He shows you everything that you can do to make trainers for everything that you need to know in those areas. He's really good at it. Alright guys, that's all we had time for. I'm sorry this was so long. We had to cover a lot of information, but we got her done. And hopefully you understand. If you don't, go take a look at Jerry's tutorials. My hat's off to them over at the Cheat Engine website. To Jerry, we miss you, bro. Rest in peace. Thank you for your tuts. And just go take a look at it. It goes into a lot more detail, and you'll really learn a lot. And this is just an example of that tutorial in action. Okay, but you guys take care, keep on hacking. Most importantly, please enjoy yourself. That's really what it's all about. You cheat the game, fellas, because believe me, it doesn't mind cheating you. You take care now. Now we can dial we want to. I ain't worried about it.